Yep. And can you all see my screen? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see it from here.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, so yesterday we sorry?
I can see your screen.
Okay, fantastic. So yesterday we looked at the traditional Django website. So basically, if you go to Django framework, okay. So that's the basic idea. That's I don't know how many of you went to practice with the. I know tutorial is probably you won't be able to finish it in one day. But yeah, I would encourage everyone to go through the complete because for it to be really develop Python, I mean, almost everyone that works with Python has gone through this tutorial. Okay, so it's very, very important that you go through the tutorial, and so it's going to give you like a kind of a better an in-depth understanding of the different concepts we talked about. Okay, so creating a project, so we did this, starting a project, start project, and all of that. So of course you are likely not to understand everything at a go at once, but it will give you a kind of an idea of how these things are done. Okay, so that's the basic thing we want to do here. All right, so this is the Django framework. Now we want to build APIs. Now remember what we had yesterday, the output was HTML. Okay, so let's just even go there. Let me see ls to see what's in my folder. I do developer, ls, go to teaching, I believe, ls, backend, cd backend, ls, Django, cd Django. Oh, sorry, cd Django. Let's cd code. Let's. Okay, so I believe this is the. Yeah. So I'm going to open VS Code here by typing code dot. So to open our. And today I probably have to do my open the visual environment instead of switching back and forth, right? So I'm just going to open the terminal right here. How do they open the terminal in Windows again? Or is it Alt? Not quite sure. So I'm just going to open the terminal. New terminal. Dashboard split. Okay. And do ls again. Okay, so we're in the right place. So I'm just going to clean. And already we are in the virtual environment. Okay, so we're going to run Python manage.py, run server. And then it runs our server. So let's open that. Our URL is, I think it was books. Okay, so the output of the traditional Django framework website is HTML. So you see that, so it basically just sent HTML to the browser and then the browser displayed the HTML. But for an API, the output is pure data, okay, pure JSON data. So we're going to see how this data looks like, what it looks like. So if we just type JSON, okay, so it's called JavaScript object notation. So that does not mean that you're going to write any JavaScript. So just a way of, transmitting data in the web. So you're going to, so basically when you develop a web application, you have a back end and front end. So the back end is one computer, front end can be a different computer. So we need to transmit data between the back end and front end. So JSON is one of the ways to achieve that. So that's why our back end is going to spit out JSON data. Okay. And to be able to do that, all right, of course, you can do that with Python, with the normal Django, but there is even a library, okay, called Django REST framework. So Django REST framework. If you go to Django REST framework, so which is taking a different website, but this library is actually what we then use to build that. So you're going to spend a lot of your time here, as well as in the other one. Okay, so it just basically a way to build APIs. So it supports the API. All right, but it's very, very good. All right, so we're going to be using this to build our API, so that instead of sending HTML and CSS, we're going to actually send JSON data. Okay. So yeah, so let's see how that can be done. So the first thing we, of course, we have to do that is we have to install this thing here, Python. We're going to install this Django REST framework, and then we have to also tell our. So we're going to do the same thing with the. We're going to continue with the project we built yesterday. We're going to build the API version of that. Okay, so let's start by. We'll go back here, and because I'm going to. Okay, I think since I said we should do everything in the. We'll do everything in the VS Code. So we're going to just do that now. Right. Okay. So I'm going to switch on to VS Code again. And I'll first of all bring down the server just so I can install the. Yeah, so you can just do pip install, but the way we have been installing for now, let's just do Python. Okay. Sorry guys, let me. So do Python pip install Django REST framework. Django REST, just one word, right? Framework. Okay, and then we install. Now we have to make sure that we're in the virtual environment. Remember that we're installing everything in the virtual environment. We're installing everything in the virtual environment, so we have to make sure that we are there. So yeah, so that is installed. So the next thing, once that has been done, the next thing after that has been done. Sorry guys, somebody that is just one moment here. Let me resolve this. Just one moment. Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I had to resolve some issue. Okay. All right. So let's go back to this. Yeah. So now we've installed Django REST framework. So we have to now formally notify Django of the new installation. Okay. So we have to tell Django that indeed we have installed this. Remember, this Django REST framework is also like an app. So we have to tell Django that we have installed something. So we do that in the settings, okay, just like we did yesterday. So when we created the we created this guy here, we have to include it. So this is the local one we created, but this other one is a third party, okay? So usually you would do something like this. And again, this is optional, right? So it's a third party. Okay, these other ones come with Django by default, right? So the third party is the Django REST framework in this case. So I'll just come here and say the third party in this case is REST framework. So you write it like this: REST _ framework. And how do I know this? Is because, of course, you have to go to the site to really see that. So you see, once you install by Django framework, okay, you have to include it in the install apps like this. Okay, so this .3 does mean that there are other things in the store app or cost. You just have to include it like this. Okay, and then that is it for the Django, because this is Django response will help us to, actually write these APIs, because that's the work of this Django REST framework. So if we go to Django REST framework, say Django REST framework is a powerful, flexible toolkit for building web APIs. Okay, that's why we need it if we want to build APIs with Django. Okay, so this is very necessary. Okay, so what's next? The next thing we're going to do here is then to build the API app. So for now, we're going to just build it as an app, which is just like the book app, but we're going to build just for the API. And this is just to separate the API from the traditional Django. No, what we built yesterday was the traditional Django, well, which is just all of this. But we're going to now build the API, and we do similar things. So to create an app, we say Python manage the py start app, and then we say APIs. Okay, so we'll do that. No model name REST framework books. Okay, so yeah, so you can see there's a mistake in this because I did not put any comma here, so it's assumed that this thing continues onto this line. So I'll have to put a comma so that my last code can work. So if I switch back to this and say APIs, then of course you can see that it appears here. Okay. Now this is a start app, so it's just like the books app. So it has all these admin apps, models, tests, and views. Okay, but in this case now we are not really this app APIs app will not have its own database models, so there's no need to create any of this migration that we did yesterday. In fact, the database model are the one that we don't need to touch. All right. So the basic idea of this API is here, this app now, just to expose. Remember, we're doing the library book, right? So it just expose the data about this book. Okay. So we already have the book data. The idea of the API is to expose data from the back end. Okay, so that the front end can get this data. Before now, what we did yesterday, we did not just expose data, we expose HTML page with the data inside. Okay, so this is what the user sees. But with what we are building now, this will not be necessary anymore. Okay, we'll just focus on exposing data. Then the front end guys are the ones that will take this data and then do with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, however they want it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here again, once you create an app, right, you need to, of course, go to the project settings and indicate that the app has, or when you install an app or create an app, ensure that the app has been created. So in this case, since I've created the app, all right, so we need to go back here and again, this app we created by ourselves. So you see how we created it. It's not like this one we installed. So we can come here and say APIs dot apps dot APIs config. Okay. So again, like I said yesterday, you can simply just say APIs, right? You can simply just type it like this as well. But sorry, in code like this. You can simply just type it like this and put a comma. Okay. But adding all of this now just to make sure that is kind of unique, making it a bit more unique. Because if somebody create another APIs and then person can, the name can conflict, or maybe have to install some API, they can conflict with the installation. Imagine we have like something I'll call REST API, all right, REST framework, and then we just have another REST framework, the one we built, then it can be confusing, it can be conflicting, all right? So it's just good to just write the complete name like this. Okay, that's a little bit. So now we have this app that we have created, the APIs app, which of course is not going to have it. We're not going to make it of any database, because the basic idea here is that to use this app to expose their book library. Okay. So again, another thing we have to do is to go to our URL, which is not for the app, but for the whole for the project. Okay, this guy here. Remember, this is where the URL will come to.
I think you missed something out.
What's that?
Back in the setting, you wrote config with small letters. Is that not going to be an issue?
Okay, yeah, oh, sorry, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's going to be an issue because that's not how it is. But now to even confirm that, you have to go see. Remember how we get this. So we have to go to this file that I generated and then see this is what we are doing. This APIs config. So thank you very much for pointing that out. And okay, so next we have to go to the project URL. Okay, this project URL. Remember, the apps themselves have their own URL. The project URL describes the whole, because they are going to be. Remember, a Django project consists of many apps. Okay, so the apps, now you have to register the URL of that app. Then from this URL, the request will be taken to different pages. Okay, so here again we have to include our this new one, which is the API. So just say path. And one thing about writing code there, once you see the pattern that I've been written, you're just basically just repeating the pattern. So you can just say API / and then you say, okay, include APIs.urls. Okay, save. And then of course the API does not have URL. You can say API.admin.apps.models.test. So we have to create the URL. So one way to do that quickly is to right click. I don't know if that's quickly, but I mean that's just one way to do that, URLs. And the pattern is the same whenever you create. You have to always create this URL.py. Okay. And then inside here, we need a view, just like we did in the previous one, like in the books, right? We created URLs.py, and then we had this. So we're going to do the same thing here as well. So what we're going to do, the first thing is to say from Django.urls. Okay. Import path. And then from .views, which we don't have yet. Okay, from views, import. We're going to create a book API view. So this is what we'll receive from the URL. Like this is what we'll receive the URL, and then go to the database and grab all the data that you need and give it back to you. And then you now send the data to the front end. Okay, that's it. So this API view. So I'll just type it like this. But for now, we don't have it. But again, we are going to just use it. So just say URL patterns equals. So URL pattern is a list of URLs that you know, if you want to go to if you are going to Facebook, for instance, right, there's your homepage, there is your the homepage, there's your profile page like that, and you can also click on friends page. So if you click on any of these pages, the URL changes. Okay, so this is what the this is where you just place such URL that's saying that, okay, if this URL is clicked on, this is where you should go. If this URL you should click on, that's what we are having in the library project. So that if we start the app and then you start with admin, go to the admin side. You start with books, go to books. You start with API, go to API. So we're matching all of this. And then inside each of them too, we have the same pattern, which is a path. And here we're just going to do empty, so we don't need to do anything. And we say book API view dot as view. Okay, as you can see, it's similar to what we did yesterday, but this one is for API dot view. And then again, we'll give it a name as well. Name book list. Of course, this thing can be, but just give it a name that makes sense. Right? It can be anything, right? So just so remember again in Django templates, which we did yesterday, in Django, traditional Django views are the ones that go to the database, for instance, this book list view. You know that, okay, it wanted to go and grab all the books in the library, in the database, okay, and then grab a template, which is HTML, and then send this. Now it store all the books that it grab from the database, store is in this variable, my list of books, and then send it across to this book list.html. So inside the book list.html, you're now going to see this my list, which contain all those books. Okay. So basically, you can also customize. You can say you want to collect maybe a few of the books, or 3 of the books, or 4 of the books, right? And the Django views, you always have to do that in the view, right? You have to describe that here in the view. Okay. But in our case right now, we are dealing with API view now, which is Django REST framework. Okay, it works similarly. But remember, it's not sending anything to the template. Okay, in that case, it's not going to send anything to the template. But let's see how it's going to work. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to say that from now REST framework now, REST framework. Okay, import generics. And then from books dot models import book. So we're saying that from books dot models. What makes this possible is because of this. Remember this init underscore underscore init underscore underscore py. It makes it possible for you to import things like this. Okay. So next, so we have the book now, and because remember the bulk of this API is to basically take books from the database and then send to the browser. No, send a JSON object of the book. So it's this time it's not sending HTML alongside with it. Okay, and this is what we're going to be most of the things.
I thought we just did for the views now.
Oh, okay, no. So you see, I showed the views we did yesterday, which is this one. Okay, so basically what it does is it grabs all the books in the database, and then it gets this HTML, and then pass this, assign the books that you got from database to this variable here. Okay, and then pass it to this HTML. Now, so the output now is HTML, but in the case of an API, okay, it does the same thing. So yeah, so you're going to see, you're going to go to the database, and okay, we're going to let's just write it out right now. Okay, so what it does is that, let me just write the class out. Class, we call it book API view, book API view, and you can see it's very similar to that. So generics list API view. Okay, which is similar to the other one. So if you know Django, so doing the Django REST framework is just pretty much easy. Okay, view generate. So what it's going to do is we are going to write a query set. Okay, this one now is explicit, right? In the case of Django model, just say model. Like this is now explicit. Just query set the book dot objects. So this is how you get everything in database. All right, .or. Okay, so what this means that is that go to the database, grab all the books that have been installed in database. Okay, and then assign it to this query set. Now remember that the JSON data, right, is like an object in JavaScript. And if you have not done JavaScript, that means that the JSON data is simply like a dictionary. Okay, so I don't know if it's this one. No, not this one. So let's go back to the presentation. This one. Okay, like you can see that the key value pair, grab this data, and then it has to convert it to JSON because JSON is not a Python. Yeah, it's not Python, right? So, but what you are going to be sending from Python code is JSON. Okay, but still key value pairs. Okay, so which is like dictionary. So you get this data from database. The first thing we've done here is to get data from database. Which is this. Now we need to also convert this data to JSON data. So it's write serializer class. And don't worry about this, you're going to get used to it as time goes. We'll move on. Serializer underscore class equals book serializer. And in fact, this book serializer is going to be imported from those serializers. We've not defined it yet, so we're going to define them. Import book serializer. So what does it mean? This view is going to grab all the books in the library and then convert it to JSON. That's what this line does. Okay, so you convert it to JSON. But we're going to now implement that. So to implement this serializer, so we have to go and create a serializer. So because you have to convert to JSON for you to send it. So when you send it from the browser, when you grab this book, right? When you grab this book from the database, it comes as key value pair like a dictionary. But this book serializer is the one that's now going to convert it to JSON. Okay, so let's go. And one of the things we do is to go to create a file called serializers. Serializers.py. Okay, so instead of creating HTML, something to index.html or template.html or whatever, these are the things you will now have to create. You have to create a serializer, okay, which is going to then be responsible for converting the value from the database into JSON that we can send to the browser. Okay, well, we're going to see how all of this works. So the first thing you do is to say from REST framework. Okay, because REST framework is what makes this serializer possible. Import serializers. Okay, and then from books. So what are you serializing? You're serializing books anyway. Okay, because it books the information that you send to from books to book models import book. Then here we create a book. We'll call it book serializer class, I believe. Book serializer. Okay, and then this is going to inherit from serializers dot model serializer. The class meta. Okay, so this is how this one works, right? So what it does is that because you are serializing, what are you serializing? Remember, what you are sending to the back end is the books. Remember, we are going to do the same thing. Like, look at what we have currently, right? This is our app. Let me just go back. this is our app, okay? But in this case, in the way we have built this, that we basically assemble the HTML in the back end and send across with the data, okay? But the front end guys are the one that will be responsible for creating the HTML. Okay, in the new one we're going to do. So it can be a different project. It doesn't have to be, it will not even be this project like this project we are working on. So it could be like a different project, but they can make use of this as their back end. Okay. Well, what we are going to build now is their back end. But this one, the back end and front end, they are all together. Okay. So what we still want to send is the book information to the front end, but in JSON format. So we have to serialize it. Okay. Serializing simply means that you take the whatever you get from database. So what do we want to serialize? This is how you do it. You write a class, what we call an inner class in Python. So a class inside a class. And then you define the model that you want to serialize. This is the model that you want to transform the data into JSON. Okay. And then which of the fields of the model do you want to translate into JSON? So you now have to list out the fields, okay, which are the attributes. So the first one is the title, because we want the front end guys to also see the title. We want them to see the subtitle. We want them to see the author and ISBN. So we need to transform all this to JSON, okay, so that they can grab it at the front end. So we'll say put a comma and put subtitle because we want that, and then we also want the author, and finally we want the ISBN. Okay. So again, look at it carefully. So what is going on here? So remember, our API, the task of our API is to send JSON data, so that front end can grab this data and do whatever they want to do with it. Okay, and they create HTML. They can create HTML and CSS and do whatever and show it on the screen. But our task is to grab this data from the database. That's what the view does. Books.object.org, get this data from database, and then say the book, this data you get from database, automatically it should be assigned to book serializer. Okay, and that you just do that by saying, remember this is a framework, so it has a pattern. So assign this book to book serializer, so that book serializer can serialize it, that is, can convert it to a format that can be transferred over the web. Remember what is JSON? Let's type out JSON again. So I say JSON. Okay, press enter. He said what? It's commonly used for transmitting data in web applications. Okay, so now you have a back end, like in the case of WhatsApp, which I told you guys yesterday. WhatsApp has desktop version, web version, and but the back end is the same. That's why if you log into your WhatsApp on the web, it still gives you the same data you have on your phone, because it's coming from the same back end. Okay, but the thing is that what makes that easy is because the back end just sends this data, and then front end, whether web or desktop or mobile, they know how to handle JSON. So they use this same thing that is sent from the back end to transform the data. Okay. So now I think we have basically done. We need to now show what is going on here. Okay, so let's now go to our application again. And then you now see that we are going to let's run the application again. So we're going to run Python. Oh, sorry, not there. So I'm going to run this Python manage, run server. Okay, so it's running now. So let's go. Remember, our URL for this now is, the current one is, you have to pass through the books. Okay, so let's go. This is the current one where you have books. Okay, so what happened if we change this to API now? Wow. Okay, so you see what is sending to us. So this is the JSON I'm talking about. So it's a JSON data, which is just key value pair. I said key value. So this is an array or a list of JSON data. So see, this is a book. See how you describe a book here? Just the title. I say the title on the left, then in the title, subtitle, and introduction. So this is JSON we're talking about. JSON is just a key value, key value, key value. So these are 3 books. So instead of sending HTML and CSS and got what we got before, this is what the front end guys will now receive, and they can now grab it and whatever, do the HTML and CSS and whatever they want to do and show it on the screen to the user. Okay, so see how simple it is to actually build the API with REST framework, Django REST framework. So this is basically almost like all the work we need to do. All right. Okay, so this is what we will, and let me show you how this happens. So we visited this API, right? We visited this web URL. So the first thing that happened is that, again, the URL is handled by the project, which is these two guys here, WXGI and ASGI. But again, don't worry about this. It's later on when you are maybe you advance, to the certain way that you probably have to look at this file. But for now, you don't need anything to do that. But you just need to know that they are the one that directs the server. They are the one that run the server and directs the requests from the browser. So the request get from the browser, and then this guy grab this request, and then once they get it, they send it to URLs here and say, okay, analyze the request. What is this endpoint, the last part of the request after the main, the domain name, which is after this part here. Okay, they want to look for this other part. Okay, so the URL will analyze it and see that that part is now, it corresponds to this one. Okay, see that part corresponds to this one, and then it will grab this and then say, okay, I need to visit API.urls. Okay, because it's API here. So we go to API.urls, which is this guy here. And then, okay, so there's something that comes after that. So this is empty, which is correspond to after the API here. See that there's something that comes after the API, right? It's empty. So immediately it says that, okay, this must be the path. Okay. So if this is the path, then I'll go and look for book API as view and run it. Okay. Now, where is it coming from? Book API basically is coming from here. So it will go here and then try to execute this. The first thing to do is to go to the database. All this has happened before you see all those, the API result in the screen. Go to the database and say, okay, I've got this data now, but for me to send this data to whoever needs it, to any client that needs it, I need to transform it to what? A JSON data. And how do I do that? In this case, we already specified that this is a class that will help you to do that. So it will go and look for the class and say, okay, where are you? Do that. And then it will now say, okay, so what exactly am I converting to JSON? Okay, now say the model is called book. Okay, I know that. And then which of the fields do I need? So you can decide to leave out this field. For instance, if we don't always have to convert all the fields. So if you look at the results so far, right now, look at this. So you have all this field now. What if I don't want one of the field? I can maybe, and easiest way is to do this. I just remove it. Then after that, I go back and I refresh, and you see that the ISBN is no longer there. Okay, because these are the ones I want you to convert to what? So it's not always all the time that you need everything to be converted to JSON. Okay, for instance, if you have some unique ID, you don't want the ID to be converted to JSON, maybe because probably the ID is not needed in the front end. Whatever is not needed on the front end, you don't send to the front end. Okay, so you as a backend developer, there are some many things that you may have in the back end, but you want to restrict what they see in the front end, maybe because there's some secret you need to put in the back end, right? So you just keep it there, you just remove it, you make sure you don't expose it. But in this case, there's no secret, we're keeping it, right? So we just have to just put it, and we get the yeah. So any questions so far? Okay, so that's a simple API. So I just want us to have to just understand how APIs are built. Which basically you want to expose something, like which is something in the module. So you need to secret the model. But in this case now, this model is just basically we're borrowing from this guy, okay, from the books model, and we're exporting it. Okay, that's the basic idea. Yeah, so that's it.
So where does decorators come in?
Okay, so we already even used a decorator yesterday. So decorators, obviously, they come in for different purposes. What's a decorator? So a decorator is something like this. I think we used decorator somewhere yesterday. I think it's in the test. Let me see. Yeah, this is decorator.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, like in this case now, we just specify the decorator as a class method. Okay, so sometimes we can also specify a decorator as a login, so that probably some view like this, the views we have now, this view, you don't need to do anything to be able to have access to this, right? You can see here, you don't need to log in or anything, but sometimes you can write a decorator that allows only login users to do so. Okay, but this one now everybody can just view it. Yeah, but it's possible that you may want to, which we are probably likely going to do later on, that write a decorator. Okay, maybe we may, I don't know yet, but we may write it decorator that will restrict the view what you see. So the first thing that will run is the decorator to see, okay, are you logged in? For instance, if you're not logged in, for instance, if you try to open Facebook, right, they will ask you to log in. Otherwise, you just open somebody's profile without login. So you have to login. So we're going to also learn how to do that. But then, as usual, just to reiterate, so once you've written things like this, we cannot just use our mouth and say, "Oh, it's working." Or you can look it now. You can say we can't manage and say it's working. You must write a test for it. So remember the test we wrote yesterday. Now we wrote this test. We can always run this test. Okay, to see that even as we added more code, does our test still run? So we can come here and cancel and say Python manage run test. Oh, it said something unknown command run. Okay, sorry. So that should not run there, right? So manage software. Okay, so our test still passed. Okay, and we don't have to like when you learn how to code, right? We put in to test your code, you have to put in some values, and then you run the code and you say, oh, it's working. Okay, but that's not really enough. We don't really do much of that in the real world. We just write it in so that if we need to ask question, or if you need to look at to try to test it again, because you need to be consistent with your testing, right? You want to test with the same values. It can just be easier to do. So again, let's just switch on to this. We are going to test our API. All right. So I'll just leave out the first import first, and then do from Django. I think we did yesterday as well. .urls. Say import reverse. So this reverse helps us to. It's very useful to us, right? Because it helps us to be able to refer to this path with the name. Okay, we did it yesterday as well. So we'll eventually get used to that, don't worry. Then the next thing would be so we imported this. Next we import REST from REST framework. We're going to import status. And then from REST framework again, we're going to import API test, which is almost equivalent to this guy here. Okay, this is .test. That's a mistake. .test. So you see, they are very, very similar. So we're not going to be making use of this because we are testing API. Okay. So again, it's going to be very, very similar like yesterday, but we'll have to test it. Import from books.models. Import book. Okay. Some book models import book. Okay. So let's do that. Let's continue. Okay, import book. And then next we'll start writing the test again. So you can see now we've been using classes a lot. I'm sure you guys may be wondering when you are learning classes, why are you learning classes? But you can see that in the real world, we are writing these real programs now, right? That we're using all the things you're supposed to know in Python. So again, we're going to just write a class method again. Which by convention, this is just what we do by convention. Set up test data. Set up test data class and class dot book dot objects dot create. So we'll create a book again, just like we did yesterday. So I'll say title of the book. Is equal to Django REST framework. Then create a subtitle. Create subtitle. Let's say call it web APIs. Let me just call it web APIs. So again, these are dummy data, right? So it doesn't matter what you put there. Web APIs. And then next, create author. John Doe. And then ISBN. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9. Okay. All right. And then, yeah, so this is just basically for the setup. And then we're going to just write a single test here. Okay. Okay, so let's start our first test here. What are we going to test? We're going to test that the test API list fields that. So we want to actually test that. Okay, just one moment again. Let me just quickly settle this. Just All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about the break again. Okay, so now we have this. So let's just test the API. So we want to test that this actually works. Although you can already see that it's working, right? But again, we're building software, right? There's a mindset we use to build software. It's working, right? We don't know what will happen. Maybe something will happen and then it doesn't work. So we want to write a test that will always guarantee that this code we've written always work. Okay, it's very, very important, and it's a mindset. Okay, if you come from a certain country, you will not be, if you have this kind of mindset, like you have to test it out, make sure that it's actually really, really working. If you just say, oh, it's already working now, so we can manage it. No, but we don't do that. We don't do that software. It's a different mindset.
Sir, can anyone hear anything?
I think he has been logged off.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sorry guys, today is a bit, but yeah, we're going to complete what we have for today, no matter what. All right, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, so now let's just write the code for the test. So I'll say a test API list. Then we'll do the set. Now the test is similar to what we wrote yesterday. Okay, so we remember
Yeah,
we have. Can you see my screen?
no, we can't see your screen.
Oh, okay. So
No, no.
let me share. So can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, you do serve.client. Okay. But we are testing this as if somebody want to get it from the front end. So that's what I say self.client.get. Okay. So it's right. Book list. Okay, this book list now correspond to this name that we give to this part. Okay, the book list. All right. So next we're going to do set asset equal response. So basically, once you go and visit the URL, okay, you want to make sure that the request, because when you're visiting the URL, you are making a request. Like, for instance, if you type in www.google, you're making a request that you want the Google page. If you type www.facebook, you're making a request that you have. So the request will come back as a response with some attributes. All right. So one of the attributes is the status of the response. Okay. So the status code, which we also spoke about briefly, the response of status code. So we want to make sure that it is 200. Okay. But since we imported this status here, so usually we don't say, because we don't like magic numbers in programming. So we just say status dot this constant HTTP underscore 200. Okay. Okay. So I mean, this makes more sense compared to just typing 200. Okay. So now how that is 200. We want to make sure that the response has this status code. That means that its response succeeded. But if it has 404, it means that does not succeed. Or if it has 40, it's a 0401. Okay. 401. So again, we also want to test that the number of books that was sent back. Okay. Self.asset equal book dot objects dot count. Remember we did book dot object dot all to bring all the book, but this one now we're saying now book dot object dot count. Okay, so we want to count how many books are there. All right, in this case, can somebody tell me how many books do you expect to return to see on the page if you are running this test? How many books do you expect to see on the page? Here we saw 3 books, right? We run the program. Why is it again? Okay, is it 3 books? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 books. But in our case, in this test, how many books do we expect to see?
Just one.
Just one, exactly. So I just put 1 there. So we expect that when you count the book, it's same thing as 1. So the counting of this book is 1. 1 is equal to 1. Okay, so 1, because we have just created 1 book. Which means if we create 2 books, then we can say that okay, the books that are there are 3 books, 2 books, okay, and so on and so forth. So another thing we also want to check again is self.asset contains response. Okay, now, so to first say that the response is actually contains this particular book. So we say this response, this contains self.book. Self.book is the book defined for this class, which is the one we define this class method. Okay, this book. So we're not saying that response actually contains this. We want to test that response. So if we go back and do the test again, clear, and then do the test again. Right now we have 3 tests, and it says it failed. Okay, run 2 tests. Okay, say run 2 tests, and then say so 1 test of this failed. So what failed? Let's raised. Let me just expand this.
Your subtitle.
Yeah, so we made a mistake in typing the subtitle. So let's see where the mistake come from. So let's see subtitle. Okay, so we didn't put this T because it doesn't understand it. All right, so let's try again. And this time, create test run, and then it passed. So let me just clear again and run. Test. You see, all the tests passed now. Okay. So now, one thing about this now, we can now run the test later on again, anytime within the project. Or somebody take this project and then type, add more features or add more books and all that, can always write this test, run this test anytime. Because if you're just typing, imagine when you're writing Python, you now have to you say run the Python code, you run Python code, say enter a number, you enter a number, and so on. And each time you run the Python code, you have to always do that. But having this test now, you don't have to, you can add more to the test, but once you write the test, you can always run it several times. Okay, so it gives you that ability to be more consistent. Okay, so any question?
I have a question, sir.
Sorry?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so usually a possible way would be to have all of our have more like a test folder where we have all of our test files or test cases. If we were to do that kind of a thing with Django with this file structure, how would we do that?
Yeah, so basically you can just create a folder. You can just replace it by creating do you mean for a particular app or for the whole project? Because if it's for the whole project, of course, you can just come. Let us do this like this. Okay, you can just basically just even create a folder here and call it test. It's still not. I mean, that's your own decision, right? So it doesn't really matter. You can call it test. Okay, but then remember, when you create a folder, it's no longer a file. So you want this to act as a package so that it can be imported. You can import things. So inside that folder, you must have this file called init.py. It doesn't have to be contain anything. It has to be empty. Then you can then write all the tests you need to write inside here. Okay. Then you can also do the same way in the class. You can do it in a particular case, like in the so instead of this, you can actually put a folder here. But again, you have to make sure that you put this inside the folder and then write all the tests you need to write. Okay. So what is more important is that when you're writing the test, you have to make sure that every test case should start with test. Okay, like this. Okay, that's what's important. And even in this case, right, if you want to run, of course, you just decide on the pattern you need, depending on your project, and if you're working with us, the project will be working on, you're going to see that it's going to be a big project. So it's going to see that we're going to use some of these techniques to do stuff. Okay. But in this case now, if you want to run now, if we type this now, we're running all the tests. But let's say I want to run the test for the books alone. So I'll just type books here. And then just run 2 tests. If I want to run the test for the API, so let me just clear the screen. So clear the screen and the APIs, that's the app. Then run 1 test, which is okay. So you can also do that. Yeah, but of course, if you want to run all the tests, just type Python manage.test, and then you run the tests. And so if you have decided to not follow the Django structure, the initial structure just give to you, I mean, you can also not follow it, and then you still get your things running, but you have to just be logical, and you have to inform Django that you're not following it. All right, because a lot of things we're doing here is we're just doing it by default. Okay, like the test in this case. So of course we're not using this. So what I'm just going to do, maybe some of you, I don't know whether all of you know how to delete a folder from the command line. So let me just show you that. So we have this test now that this test folder here. We don't need it, so we're just going to remove it. So I'll just do rm arrow, okay, and then just that test, and it's gone. Okay, so I've deleted it. So if you look now, it's no longer there. That disappeared. That disappeared. Okay.
Okay, I also have a question.
Yeah.
How come we never included any error handling code to read. What if the result is an error?
Okay. We know we're just basically just fucking this up. We have not done any of that yet. We've not done any of that. So this is more like we're just doing an intro. So those are things that will come up later. Okay. So the most important thing is we just need to have like a good understanding of the way the Django works. The Django REST framework, when a request is made, how it's being received. We have not even been able, like I said, somebody also asked creating something from the back and being ability to create, on your object, a model, object of the model, right? We have not also do that. We only did to create an object. What we did was we went to the default admin site that was given to us by Django project. So we went to the default admin site and we are able to create the functionality is there by default. Okay. But we don't have, at least we don't have the functionality. So this is not running yet. So I'll go to Python manage. Of course, that is part of the thing you definitely have to handle. Okay. So you can't avoid that. Okay. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, but we're just trying to like move bit by bit and really to, there's so many things that we'll be able to cover, right? But we want to get the basic main idea, right? So for instance, now when you look at this now, we should be able to really understand the client server in this, right? So, and then this is the one we did yesterday. Probably not go back to HTML again and CSS. And then this is the one we're not trying to do here. So see how the data, receive the request, and then send this request also. Sometimes, for example, if you are doing creation, like you're creating data, the request is also going to come as JSON, which then going to be converted to, So what the task of the serializer is both. We basically convert Python object to JSON, going from database. Okay, because before you store in database, you have to convert it to Python object. When you take object from database to your program, Python program, then when you're sending it across to the client, okay, it's going to be JSON. Now, when the client also, for instance, if client fill it a form, let's say login in or maybe sign up, right? So this data is also going to come at JSON, and it will still arrive at the same serializer. Okay, serializer, we're going to grab it and convert it to Python objects. So that's the work of a serializer. Okay, so it does both ways conversion from JSON or JSON from the front end, because JavaScript from the front end will give you JSON. Okay, and then this JSON now has to be converted to Python object for Python to work on it and store it in the database. Okay, so don't worry, we're going to get to that. So if we're not able to get to that in this, but at least I think I will be able to. Now that you reminded me, I will bring that up. And okay, so any more questions from your side?
I have more like a suggestion. I don't know if it's allowed in this class.
Of course, why not?
I think you should create like a WhatsApp group for the students so that when we are practicing and we have a quick question, we can just liaise among ourselves. I don't know if that's allowed.
Oh yeah, of course, why not? So we actually have maybe we've not been actively using it, but the guys that are doing the front end, they have been using it, right? So we actually have a Slack channel.
Okay.
Yeah, well, are you doing about Slack?
Yeah, I know how to use Slack. I know about Slack.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, also much more effective than WhatsApp.
Okay. So can we be added to the channel?
Yes. So let me just quickly see if I have Slack in my machine. Yeah. So yeah, I have Slack. Sorry, I just deleted the page. Close the Slack. So it's I think it's very much so some groups I have in Slack. Okay, let's see.
Okay, so I'll add you guys to this one. Okay, this one's not very okay. Yeah, so there's one here. Add this guy. You can see the one on Flask. All right, so I don't know what happened. Okay, so if you upgrade it, I've been blocked. Then the one on I don't know for what reason. Is it the JavaScript? So I'll add you guys to this. Okay, so if you can see some people already there, but it's not active yet. So it's been a while we created this channel. Okay, so yeah, so that will happen. So on this Slack channel, you can ask whatever questions you have, and then it's be resolved. Okay, yeah. So I think the front end guys, they decided to just be using just this one. Anyway, so yeah, so we have this, and I think that this is going to be much more effective and much more fun rather than using WhatsApp. So yes, actually, you can type in your code and remember. I'm not sure. So this has been deactivated. Upgrade to plan. Okay, so probably we don't allow us to have access to this again. But usually, like this one now, we had like some people writing some code and posting here. So it was quite interesting then. But yeah, we have to add you to this. Okay. Or if you guys are online, sharp now, if you drop your email in the chat, then maybe I think I'll be able to just quickly.
Okay.
I'll be able to just quickly add you guys here. If you drop your email now, then just
That's
add it.
Gmail now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, if you also have, well, I believe that Gmail is more effective, of course, but
Yes.
if you have anyone, you can just drop. All right.
Guys, we can drop it. We can drop it while this call is on.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
chat
Right now, I
box.
think somebody has already dropped it. Yes, that's all right. So just drop it and then just add. Okay. So just add it. You're going to receive notification. Okay. So.
Do we need to install anything or just a direct access?
You have it either you have it in the browser, just like Discord or but I mean it makes sense for you to actually have it downloaded, but you can use it in the browser anyway.
Okay.
But for me, I think downloaded version is also very good. Yeah. But so this is another tool that as a software developer you have to know how to use, because this is what we use in the industry, right? So yeah, we use it and you have to be familiar with it. It's what we use our WhatsApp kind of. So most companies use this. As you can see, I'm in different stuff here. So what happened? Did I do something? I probably something now. I think that sounds very I just wanna spend it all with you. Oh. All right, so I believe all of you has received this invitation. Hopefully, if you haven't, just let me know.
I've received.
Okay. Okay, let's follow the prompt there, and then you have access to it, and you can drop questions. Okay, maybe later on I can show you guys how to also type in, like, because you type in. For instance, if you want to type in a code, let's say, let me just copy one of our code and put it. I don't know. Let's copy the one on APIs. Books views. Okay, maybe just copy this one. So if you're asking a question about a particular code, you can actually just type the code in. But to type a code in this, you need to press, look at this now. Look at this button. Yeah, that's for code. So basically, let me just go back. So you can just paste what you have here. There are two ways. I can just select and then press this. It becomes a code. Okay, go I press it. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, so it looks very much like code, and just, yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. Okay. All right, so let's continue with what we are. We're almost done, actually. Almost done. So before we continue again, like, again, please, the task is still the same. Try as much as possible to complete the Django, the official Django tutorial. Okay. You're going to learn a lot more there. Getting started with Django. Okay. Again, this one, the official Django tutorial, please dive into it and try to do it. It's in about 6 or 7 parts. Okay. Read through it. Type in your code. Don't just read through it. Just type in code as they type. And just keep moving. Part 1, tutorial, part 2, and then just keep moving. So they actually build a simple application for polls, like a kind of voting application. Okay, follow that and see how it is done. And of course, if you have any question, you are free to ask. So if you actually don't understand the tutorial, when we show up here, you can ask those questions. And I bet you if you go through that, you see a lot of learning you're going to see there. Okay, if you go through this, and then once you have done that, then you have another tutorial here again, which is this one, the quick start. Okay, this is another tutorial. You see, they're already talking about serializer. Although this one may be, you don't have to worry about this one much at the moment, because it requires you to have completed the other one. It requires you to have completed the Django tutorial, which is, of course, this is the tutorial that you should also take a look at. All right. So let's see what we have. We've done the test. I would have loved us to do some deployment, but I think we'll, okay, so maybe one of the things I'll just mention is okay, so I think tomorrow we're going to do another set of APIs. It's straightforward. We're going to write another API, which is just like a to-do list, just to help us again to really get a good understanding of what is going on. But before we go for today, what I want to just say is, of course, we're going to I don't know whether this is still recorded. Let me see.
It's still recording.
Yeah, that's good. Fantastic.
But
Okay.
I have a question, please.
Yeah, please.
Those sites you showed, where can we access them? The one you said we should just go through.
The tutorial.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just send you. It's on the website. Yeah, let me just drop it here. Or maybe I'll drop it here and also drop it on. Okay, I can see Ozema, you have joined. Nice. So I'll just drop it in the in here and also drop it right here directly. Drop it right here in the message. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see at least today we have seen that we can build a server-side rendered website. Okay. A server-side rendered website, like I said here, a server-side rendered website, which we did yesterday. And then we can also build an API rendered website. Okay. So this is API rendered website. You can see it just gives you, and Django provides you with this interface as well. It just gives you the JSON data for the book. But this other one actually uses HTML but although we didn't add any CSS, but typically HTML and CSS to give you what you need to see. So let me just input this one. It still works. Okay, this is the traditional one, which is basically just now using HTML and CSS to do that. In fact, let's just try something just to show that it's really HTML and CSS. So if I put style here, maybe I think it should work. Color. White smoke. And then style, background color. Okay, so if we go back to here and refresh, yeah, you see, this is our, we now added some CSS, right? So, but again, I don't know, the thing here is that the so this is more of like front end kind of stuff, right? So make it just look, yeah, so you have CSS, but you can't do this with this other one, the one we're just doing now, which is the API, right? So because it's not even a HTML, it just gives you JSON data. Yeah, so it's the front end guys now will grab this and do whatever they want to do. Okay, and that is what most of the things we're going to be doing now. We're not going to be combining HTML and this absolutely done here. Okay, so this is very important. So just, and then was the last thing? Anything? I mean today that should okay. Yeah, so I just want to also state as something that when you build API, right? Because the API is you build API, you expect a front end to be built, maybe React or Angular or Vue, right? You expect a front end. Not so obviously this is not the API. You expect the front end to be built, all right? So, but then you don't expect any front end to access your app. Okay, you have to make sure that not all front end access your application. This is very, very important. Okay, not all front end access your application, and that's why you're going to do what we call the calls. Okay, and also even your own applications, right? We want to also make sure that not every URL access your application. So in this Django settings, we have what we call allowed hosts. Okay, so if I click here and go to settings, I see this folder here. So this list here. So this is where you can specify that, okay, if you want access to this project, okay, you can only pass through www dot whatever, okay. But in this case, we don't have www dot anything. We can just say we have localhost. Okay, so Yeah, but again, we're going to do this later on. So I just added localhost. It just said no. This is not it. Okay, they can see that it's saying that it's not allowed. Again. Okay. So even if you want to, yeah, so if you change the URL and add something, anything you add here, it's tell you. But let's just put 8,000 and see. It's the same thing that I said, localhost. Yeah. So allowed hosts. Okay. So that's a localhost. Anyway, but don't worry, we'll look at this later on. But there are a lot of security stuff we can do to make sure that your application is also safe. All right, so we're going to end here for today. So any question? This is our app. This is the full stack app. Then this one is the back end. Why is that one? Well, the back end app, which does not contain any HTML or CSS. So if you're working today as a software developer, as a back-end developer, you're more likely to work on things like this one more than the template one. But of course, there are also some companies that still use the template and combine with that. Okay. But yeah, but the basic advantage of this one is that you can then use for one back end for different various front ends. Okay, different front ends. All right, so that's a thing. All right, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. But any final thoughts, any suggestion, any question? But we'll see tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to be looking at a to-do app. Just a simple app, like, again, also get our heads around the thing we're doing. Yeah. So, and then we just keep going. Later we're going to do authentication and all of that. You see what login means and how to log in from. You will now begin to understand that login is actually a thing of the back end. It's just a simple front end stuff, but that one will come later. Okay.
So, are you going to like push this code to GitHub?
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you for that. So let's just do that quickly. So I think we are here, so we can always do this thing here. Who's thinking for us? Okay, so I just do git. Since we already pushed it yesterday, so it's easier today. Okay, git status. For some reason we're still having all of these guys here. So library. Okay, so I'm just going to exclude these guys. Do we have git ignore at all? Okay, we'll have git ignore. So I'm just going to exclude. I thought I excluded this by cache. Okay, maybe I didn't exclude it very well, so I can say this, copy, paste, yeah, and do a slash like this.
Hello.
Yep. So okay, maybe let me just do this because we don't need any of this extra stuff. So clear status. For some reason, why is it not ignoring it? So library. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Anyway, so I'll just push it in and then we see. So I'll just clear. Clear. So git add, git commit -m create simple data. So git push. All right, so yeah, it's there now. So you guys, it's same link, okay? So you can see the updates there, and you should be fine.
Okay, for me, the video yesterday.
Sorry?
The video yesterday.
Yeah, but I said who's talking, because I've sent the video already.
This is Benjamin. Okay, not on the WhatsApp, not on the WhatsApp. The link not on the WhatsApp platform.
No, I don't send on WhatsApp. I sent it on
You send it on
email.
Gmail.
I don't. Maybe did I? Let me just send my sent email.
Okay, okay, I've seen it.
Okay, I've seen it. Okay.
Yes, I've seen it in Gmail.
Yeah.
In my email.
All right.
Thank you.
So I will do the same thing with this one as well.
Okay,
So
expecting. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, guys. So see you guys again tomorrow. Sorry about today. Today I had to. there's a boy here, a young man here that is.
Yes, we can
hear
you
join the class by all means.
Allow him now.
I join the class by all means.
We need to catch them young.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. All right. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, tomorrow is Wednesday. But let's see. I don't know if we can meet tomorrow, or is it possible to meet earlier? I don't know how many of you will be
as early
available.
as
Like what time?
Like early